Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and enjoy this fanfic part 2. Now let's start the fanfic. Yu and Naruto walked into the mountain. After an hour or so of walking up a mountain, they eventually reached a small house inside the mountain. Yu opened the door and he and Naruto walked in. Inside there is a small kitchen, and a table enough for 2 people. Right next to the kitchen is the living room. The living room didn't have much except for a couch. The rest of the house just had a small bedroom. You'll start your training tomorrow, go by the river to wash up and we'll eat dinner soon. After that you sleep, said Yu, as he pulled out a storage scroll and unsealed some of the luggage that Naruto saw on the ship. Yu walked over to a brown box, and searched inside it. Seconds later he pulled out a pig and searched into another box and pulled out some vegetables. He quickly walked over to the kitchen to make dinner for Naruto and himself. Naruto went outside, and saw a river nearby. He took off his clothes and jumped into the river, to wash up. The river was cold so he washed up as fast as he could, so he wouldn't get a cold. When he was done he put his new pair of clothes on and went back to the house. Inside he could see Yu cooking dinner, so he stayed on the couch and waited for him to finish. An hour or so later Yu called Naruto over, and they ate. During that time they got to know each other more. After dinner Naruto helped Yu with the dishes. Now they are just relaxing in the small living room. Alright Naruto, time to sleep. You're going to need it for tomorrow, said Yu when he saw the sky getting dark. Where am I sleeping? Asked Naruto, curious where he would be sleeping. He hoped it was the couch because it is really comfy, and he hoped Yu wouldn't make him sleep outside since it looked like it was raining. Yu said the words that made Naruto's nightmares seem like a reality. Outside, replied Yu with a serious face. Naruto looked at him, disbelief written all over his face. Wait, are you serious? It's going to rain, he shouted, still shocked knowing where he will be sleeping. Hell yeah, I'm serious, now go. Your training starts tomorrow morning at 5 inches, replied Yu. Yu watched Naruto dragged himself outside with a sad expression. He couldn't hold it anymore and started to laugh. He laughed so hard his stomach started hurting. Naruto turned around to see why his dad was laughing about. Oh man, I can't believe you were going to sleep outside. Yu laughed, trying to get his composure. You told me to, argued Naruto. I was kidding. You can sleep on the couch. Yu got up so that Naruto could sleep. Naruto happily ran over to the couch and got his sleeping bag out and fell asleep the moment his body landed on the couch. Yu chuckled at his new son and went to the river to wash up before he went to sleep himself. The next morning, Naruto woke up at 5 and looked around the room for his dad, Sensei. Assuming that he was still sleeping, Naruto brushed his teeth and walked over to his father's room. He put his ear against the door. Hitomi-chan, you're so beautiful. Naruto heard. What the hell? He thought and slammed the door open, waking Yu in his sleep, somehow wearing his shades. He wears them in his sleep too. Naruto thought with a sweat drop. Naruto, what happened? Asked Yu, startled by the sudden burst in his door. It's 5, that's what happened, replied Naruto. Yu turned to look at his watch and it indeed was 5. He turned back to look at Naruto's annoyed face, and scratched his head and smiled shyly. He must have overslept. Sorry about that, he said nervously. Naruto walked out of the room and Yu quickly changed and joined Naruto to eat breakfast. After breakfast they both walked outside the house. Alright Naruto, I want to have a spar with you, taijutsu only. We'll see from there after that, said Yu getting. Naruto nodded but cursed in the inside. True, he was able to hit Itachi like once or twice, but he didn't have any taijutsu fighting style. Itachi had recently taught him a little of the Uchiha's fighting style, so that Naruto can have some style in his taijutsu. It didn't help that he just spends most of his time training his body, chakra control exercise and reading into Fuinjutsu. Might as well get this over with. He mumbled to himself, and walked to the opposite side, and faced Yu. You ready? Asked Yu and Naruto nodded. Then Naruto dashed towards Yu, his fast ready to punch Yu. Yu was surprised by the speed Naruto was coming at him. Impressive, he thought, and sidestepped to the side to dodge Naruto's punch, and using Naruto's momentum he slid his feet, so it landed right in front of Naruto's back leg. He swiped his leg, tripping Naruto easily, and Naruto's face landed on the ground. Naruto got up and looked at Yu. Now it's Yu's turn, and he threw a punch at Naruto, which he dodged. In an instant Yu sent a power kick to Naruto's side, making Naruto fly a few yards away. Damn it. That was some powerful kick. Naruto thought to himself. He looked up to see Yu walking towards him. Naruto quickly got up and ran towards Yu. When he got into range he sent a punch to Yu, which Yu easily dodged. Naruto then tried to swipe Yu's leg, but Yu hopped away. Naruto charged at Yu, giving him a random punch, kick combo. Yu continued to dodge Naruto's attacks. So he doesn't have a fighting style. He thought as he dodged another kick. This could be easy then. Yu blocked a hook punch from Naruto. Naruto roundhouse kicked Yu, but Yu quickly caught it, and in an instant Naruto was on the ground. Alright, spar over, said Yu, letting go of Naruto. Go. He could stand up. Naruto got up and brushed the dirt of his clothes. It seems you don't have any fighting styles, stated Yu. Naruto looked at the ground a little sad. Yu saw this as laugh. Hey, don't worry, this is actually easier for me to teach you. Naruto looked at him and smiled. Alright, now for your training, said Yu with an evil laugh right after. Naruto started to feel nervous and felt he was going to die for some reason. I want you to run back to the harbor and back up here. Naruto's eyes widened to proportion not known to man. Yu had to hold in his laugh when he saw Naruto's face. He couldn't wait to tell Naruto the rest of it. Also, when you run you will have to send chakra to each of your legs. Like when your right foot is in front, you have to send chakra to your right foot, the same with your left. When you finished, he laughed, seeing Naruto's eyes the size of his head. Minutes later Naruto ran off doing what Yu told him to do. 6 hours later, Naruto finally reached the house. His clothes are drenched because of his sweat. The run was horrible. It took forever, and the fact that he had to concentrate chakra to one foot and not both killed him. He even fainted halfway back up the mountain. He just hoped that he wouldn't have to do this anymore. Naruto looked around for Yu but couldn't find him. Naruto looked around the house, and eventually found Yu behind the house. The area behind the house was much larger, maybe because of the forest behind it. Naruto could see Yu in a fighting stance, Naruto never saw before. He saw Yu looking at 10 dunnies placed far away from each other. It seemed Yu didn't notice Naruto yet, and continued to do what he was planning on doing. In an instant Yu disappeared and reappeared behind a dummy and punched the dummy head off. Seconds after he did the same to another dummy and another, until they were all obliterated. Naruto's eye widened in shock. His dad Yu just defeated 10 dummies in an instant. He was amazed. Never did he think someone could do something like that. Sure, Minato could go that, but he needed seals, while Yu didn't use any seals and did what Minato could do. If anything, Yu makes Minato look like a turtle. Alright Naruto, you can come out now, said Yu, brushing some dirt of his clothes. Naruto went out of his spot and walked towards Yu. So how was your jog? He asked Naruto. Horrible, Naruto simply replied. Yu chuckled at this. Haha, don't worry, you'll get used to it. You're going to be doing this every morning. Naruto just fainted when he heard that. Yu laughed and picked Naruto up and set him on the couch, and made lunch for the both of them. Naruto woke up to the smell of food. He looked over at the kitchen and noticed lunch was on the table and Yu was waiting for Naruto. Naruto quickly got up and ran towards the table. The run earlier made him very hungry. When he reached it, they both ate. "Hey To-san, what was that move you use easier?" asked a curious Naruto. He never heard of such technique, and truthfully wanted to learn it himself. Hee awesome isn't it, but you will learn it later in your training. It's part of the Barong Taijutsu style. But you have to learn other style before I can teach you Barong style. Replied Yu, getting a nod from Naruto. Naruto himself was excited. He couldn't wait to learn different taijutsu, especially the Barong. "Awesome, I can't wait," yelled Naruto, getting up at the same time, but his legs failed to support him and he quickly fell afterwards. "You'll start your training again tomorrow, but tonight I just want you to read this scroll. It has the basics of the tiger style. I want you to learn it, and we'll see what you can do tomorrow." Naruto nodded and took the scroll from Yu. He quickly finished his lunch and dragged himself to the couch, much to Yu's amusement. He then began to read over the taijutsu scroll he received from his father. Next day, Naruto woke up the next day feeling very sore, especially his leg area. Apparently his breakfast was already on the table. Naruto did quickly ate it and began to do his horrible jog. When he got back, Yu was waiting for him in his battle clothes. "Alright Naruto, after lunch let's see what you learn from reading," said Yu, and they both ate lunch. After lunch they both went to the backyard and got into battle stance. Naruto into the newly learned tiger stance, as well as Yu. "Naruto, you ready?" asked Yu. Naruto nodded. "Begin," said Yu. Naruto then dashed forward. From what he read, the tiger form is mostly about quick strikes. Naruto did a right hook shot, making Yu block it with his hand. Then at the same time Naruto saw an opening at Yu's stomach, sending and sent a strong uppercut at his stomach. What the? He learns pretty fast for someone without practice and only reading, thought Yu. Yu then dodged a roundhouse kick, and jumped out of the way. Let's see if he knows how to block. Yu charged at Naruto and jabbed Naruto's chest, but Naruto blocked it. Naruto then dodged a hook shot sent by Yu, and managed to block a second hook shot. Yu then sends an uppercut to Naruto's stomach and Naruto flew a few feet back. "Alright, that's enough Naruto," said Yu. Naruto relaxed and walked to Yu. "Seems someone a fast learner," Yu commented, to which Naruto smiled. "Well, this is going to be your training for a while, until you master the other style, then I can teach you the Barong style. During your free time read up on the taijutsu styles and maybe some fuinjutsu," said Yu. Naruto nodded and they went in for some lunch. During lunchtime and after are usually their bonding time. As new father and son they try to get to know each other more. "Hey To-san, how come you wanted to travel around the world?" asked Naruto as he ate his lunch. "I never like being in one place for too long, always wanted to travel the world, and learn things from different places," replied Yu. "You know Naruto, I was considered a genius myself. I learned things at a fast rate like you. The only thing different was that I didn't have any motives to learn. I always skipped classes and relax or sleep. In a way I guess you can say I'm lazy. I never wanted to be the ruler and that was probably the reason why I never tried, since if I showed that I had the skills to be a leader then I probably would have been stuck with the job. Also I always thought my brother Xing was a better ruler than me. He loved the clan while I loved to travel. During my travels I learned different taijutsu from other clans and villages, as well as mastering all of them. Well, enough about me. How about Naruto? Why do you want to get stronger Naruto?" Naruto pondered at this for a while. Why does he fight? Sure, he wanted to get stronger so he could beat Madara for Yoko and set her free. I don't know, at first I wanted to prove my former family that I can get stronger without their help. Then I met Yoko, and she told me everything that happened, why she attacked Konoha. I told her I will beat this guy named Uchiha Madara for controlling her, and I told her I would protect her. Ah yes, Yoko, said Yu, who started daydreaming about the red-head beauty. Too bad he wasn't going to get any action from her, so in a sense you want to get stronger to protect those close to you? He asked. Naruto thought about it for a while. I guess you can say it like that. He concluded. Well, I think that's awesome. You don't want to get stronger to beat people up or to rule something, but to protect the people you love, said Yu. Then he looked at Naruto. So if I needed help, would you help me? Sure I guess, but I bet you can handle yourself. So I don't think I need to help you or anything, replied Naruto, and Yu was crying anime tears. He was hoping Naruto said yes or something, to show some son love. After a good chat and getting to know each other, Naruto went to study the tiger style and Yu went to polish his sunglasses. 3 years later. During the 2 years Naruto has learned a lot. He managed to master the tiger style, as well as snake, flamingo, monkey, paramantis, lion, bear and various martial arts style that Yu ended up teaching Naruto. He also mastered a style known as the dragon style. For him this was probably the hardest. Yu added to Naruto's morning routine by giving Naruto extra strength and gravity seals, and weights on him. At first Naruto was barely able to move, and later on he got used to it, and eventually he was able to run the whole thing in 3 hours. Yu also made Naruto punch and kick trees to strengthen his fist and legs. He also made Naruto do some arm workout because he didn't want Naruto's leg to get too strong that it would make Naruto look weird. For his arm workout Naruto would do push-ups and pull-ups, but as he did them he was told to put chakra into them every time he went down, and release it when he got up. This only made it harder for Naruto to do it because he had to concentrate on sending chakra and doing push-ups. In the end it paid off. Naruto chakra control went up drastically. His body became toned, and his legs and fist were almost as hard as rocks. As for his fuinjutsu, Naruto reads some fuinijutsu in the scroll and masters some of them. As of now he assumed he was low jonin in ceiling, since he spent most of his free time reading on fuinijutsu. As for ninjutsu, Naruto hasn't learned much except for chakra control exercise, and his affinity, which were the 5 main elements. As for Kaga Bushin, he is able to do a lot more. Before he would do 10, but now he could easily do 20. This also helped him a lot with his training. As for his relationship with Yu went up. Yu would sometimes take Naruto to get some supplies, and traveled. But what sometimes annoyed Naruto was that during their travel, when a cute, beautiful, hot, or gorgeous woman would pass by them, his father would start flirting with her, but to his annoyance. Maybe because one time Yu left Naruto alone and forgot to give him money for food, and didn't come back till nighttime. By then Naruto was starving. After that Naruto would get him back by telling the woman that Yu was married and would be cheating on his wife. He still remembered the first time he tried it. Flashback 1 year ago. Naruto was currently with his father, Yu. They were walking towards a village in Hinokuni to get some supplies. Yu didn't tell him what village he was going to, so Naruto could only wonder. He just hoped it wasn't that village. Naruto was still mad at Yu because last time he was left stranded by their boat without any money for food. But when he saw the village symbol he became enraged. They were few feet away from Konoha's main gate. Why are we here too, San? Asked Naruto in a cold voice. There's a store here that sells some of the best meat. I promise once we get the meat we'll be out of Konoha as fast as possible. Don't worry, they won't notice you. During the blood transfer your chakra everything was changed, also your whisker marks are gone. Yes, they disappeared when Yoko was out. The only way they can notice you or even have hints is the spiky hair of yours, but many people got spiky hair, so I wouldn't worry too much. Replied Yu, hoping to brighten his son's mood. Naruto only nodded, but in his head he was going to think of a way to get back at his dad. As they walked, Naruto being the one to walk faster since he wanted to get out of here as fast as possible. When he felt the presence of his dad moving farther away, he turned around to find his father flirting with a beautiful woman. Naruto now was furious. He marched right over to his dad. He looked over to the woman to see who it was, and to his shock it was Uchiha Makoto. He cursed to himself when he saw her. He thought of a plan and just hoped that it worked and she didn't notice him. Hello there, my name is Yu, and I must say you look rather stew. Yu didn't get to finish his introduction to the black hair beauty. To-san, what are you doing? You're married. What happens if mommy finds out that you're flirting with other women? Cried Naruto. At first Makoto was staring at the kid as if she knew him from somewhere, but when she heard what the boy was saying she instantly glared daggers at Yu, making Yu took a step back. Makoto, being a wife where her husband showed no love at all, knew how it felt, and she will be damned if someone of her kind, woman, experienced the same pain as her. Yu, how can you be so cruel? You're married and you have the galls to flirt with other girls. You filthy animal! Shout Makoto and finished with a kick to Yu's family jewels. Yu fell down in pain while holding his family jewels. Makoto crouched down to the son of the man. Don't worry about him, he will be fine. Just remember to Santo. Makoto didn't finish because as she was talking she was looking at the boy, and when she started into his electric blue eyes she froze, because she knew of only one person that had those eyes. Naruto-kun, she said to herself. Naruto himself cured, but she thought of something and hoped it worked. I'm sorry, but my name is Yamamoto, said Naruto, making up a name he could think of from the top of his head. Makoto broke out of her thinking and looked at Naruto. Oh, sorry about that, I'll be going then. Goodbye, said Makoto, getting up to leave. Naruto waved and helped Yu get up. What your problem, man? Cried Yu, trying his best to lessen the pain. Your fault for one, leaving me alone last time, and two, bringing me here, replied Naruto. Not my fault, Naruto. I told you they have some of the best meat here. Both Naruto and Yu paid no mind to the civilian pass by them, but actually the civilian was a shinobi who was having his days off. So Naruto-kun found himself a teacher. But what's with the hair and where's the whisker mark? Maybe a henge, thought the shinobi, civilian who is revealed to be the one and only Uchiha Itachi, Naruto's surrogate brother. Flashback end. After that, Naruto would sometime do the same thing he did in Konoha to Yu, when he felt annoyed, much to Yu's hate. They left Konoha and Naruto was never detected, excluding his encounter with Makoto. Naruto just finished his run routine. He wiped some sweat off his head. Now a 12-year-old boy, Naruto stood at a height of 5 feet 2. He still had his light blue, wild spiky hair, though it has gotten a little longer, reaching to his mid-forehead. Today was a special day for Naruto. Yu said he had a surprise for him and hope it was to learn Barong's taijutsu. It was near lunchtime by now, so he walked inside the house. Inside the house, Naruto finds Yu sitting down ready to eat some lunch. They finished and he told Naruto to go outside. Outside, Yu was wearing his battle gear, which consists of a black muscle shirt and black shinobi pants with shinobi clothes and black fingerless gloves. Today I want you to fight with everything you got. Same rule, taijutsu only, said Yu, getting a nod from Naruto. Naruto was happy and hoped to give his father a hard time this time, since the last time they spared was like 6 months ago. In an instant they both got into their fighting stance. Naruto in his newly learned dragon stance, and Yu in a tiger stance. They gave each other a stare down, until Yu was the first person to react. He charged at Naruto and sent Naruto a strong kick to Naruto's stomach. Naruto blocked the kick with his right arm, and threw 2 quick jabs at Yu's stomach, making Yu face forward because of the pain. Naruto sends a roundhouse kick to Yu's face. Yu used his right arm to block the kick and did a right hook to Naruto's face, sending Naruto back a few feet. Naruto shacked the pain off and jumped towards Yu, getting ready to send a roundhouse to Yu's face. Yu easily dodged the kick by sidestepping, making Naruto fall. But instead of falling in the face, Naruto uses his hands and does a front somersault and uses his momentum to throw a strong punch to Yu's face. He hit right in between his eyes, breaking Yu's precious sunglass. Yu was shocked by that move. Then he looked down to see the remains of sunglass. No, my shades, he cried out loud, going down to his knees and crying to the heaven. Naruto started to sweat dropped at his father. Yu began to do a whole funeral ceremony just for his shades, to which Naruto started to sweat dropped even more for his father's love of shades. When Yu was done, he glared daggers at his son, giving off a deadly aura, screaming, "You'll pay for that." Naruto got back into his fighting stance. Yu charges at Naruto and gave Naruto a deadly uppercut, but Naruto barely dodged it and ducked a hook punch from Yu. While Naruto was down, he swept Yu's leg, making Yu trip, but before he could fall, Naruto kicked him into the air and uses his elbow to slam him back into the ground before Yu could get higher than him. Yu started to cough up some blood. Man, am I old, he thought to himself. Yu rolled away to dodge a stomp from Naruto. He got up and decided that it's time to end this. He charged at Naruto and got ready to kick Naruto. When he saw Naruto getting ready to block, he changed his attack and sent a hook punch to Naruto's face. Then a uppercut, making Naruto fly in the sky, and appeared above him and sends a bone-crushing dropped kick to Naruto. Naruto dived into the ground and dust started to be formed around where Naruto landed. When the dust cleared, you could see Naruto injured, his clothes were ripped and he was in a small crater. Naruto got out of the crater and sees Yu floating down. "You okay there?" asked Yu. He wasn't really concerned since he knows Naruto could pretty much take on anything thrown at him. "I'm fine, let's keep going," replied Naruto. Yu chuckled and reached into his pocket, confusing Naruto. Naruto face faulted when he saw Yu pulling out a glasses case holding another pair of shades. "I can't believe he has more of those," he mumbled to himself, his face still on the ground. Naruto got up from the ground and sees Yu putting on his shades. The moment Yu put on his shades, is disappeared and reappeared behind Naruto in a second. Naruto's eyes went wide. He hasn't seen that move since the incident with the dummies. Naruto turned around but was sent flying by a bone-crushing hook punch. Naruto landed a few feet away but couldn't get up. He was dead tired, and let the black take him. Naruto woke up 3 hours later with bandages around his body. He was on the couch as well as Yu. Yu himself had a few bandages too. "Seems you're ready to learn Barong Taijutsu," said Yu. Naruto's eyes widened when he heard his, but if it weren't for that hook shot to his face, he would be smiling. "Now let me tell you the basics of Barong Taijutsu," continued Yu. "The basic of Barong Taijutsu is called Hypasupido, hyper speed. It's the move that makes me move fast, as you just saw before. To use Hypasupido, you need to have excellent chakra control, so that you can send chakra to your feet and release in a blast moment you run, so you can speed of. That's why I made you go through the you're running like, so you can do it to each of your feet. This is also part of our blooding, as we are able to use chakra as boost in speed by blasting them out upon release. Or we can send blast projectile of pure condensed chakra at people, imagine DMZ Ki Blash thing or Kamehameha. With that you can make your attack stronger or hit long wave attack, or make yourself faster. In hyperspeed you move as fast as the speed of light. But there are many weaknesses to hyperspeed. One is that you can only do straight movements, so only up, down, and side to side. 2. You cannot use it consecutively. After 3 times, you have to wait for a second or two before you recharge. 3. Once you choose a destination, you cannot change it. 4. Once your first destination is found or discovered, the next location can be easy to predict. To counterattack hyperspeed, all you need to do is step out of danger zone, and since opponent cannot change their destination, their reaction time will be slowed. A skilled fighter figures out how to counter it. They can create a small fraction to counterattack hyperspeed. Yu finishes and let Naruto take all the information in. After a moment, Naruto smiled. Sure, there were many side effects, but hey, he gets to be faster than Minato, and probably one of the fastest person in the elemental nations. Totally worth it. Plus it isn't so bad, just got to time things right. Alright, so you ready, Naruto? Yu asked Naruto. Hells yeah, let's go, replied Naruto, running outside the house with Yu following behind. They went to the backyard where the dummies are placed, except there are newly set ones. Okay Naruto, when you sent chakra to your feet like how I taught you, you become Jinsaku Swift. In Jinsaku you move as fast as the speed of light. Here, let me show you. Yu sends chakra to his feet and pretty much teleported right behind one of the dummies and teleported back to Naruto. Let's see you try, Naruto. Remember, send chakra to your feet and right before you run, blast it out. Naruto did as he was told and sends chakra to his feet. He focuses his destination to a dummy a few yards away. The moment he ran, he somehow blasts his chakra, sending him to a dummy in an instant. When Naruto reappeared next to the dummy, he was exhausted. Never did he think that something like this would be hard, and take so much out of him. Yu, on the other hand, was impressed. Truthfully, he didn't think Naruto would get it on his first try, but then again, he was a genius. You can work on that later. Let me show you another Barong technique. When you focus chakra to your fist and condenses, it becomes the Ono Yari, Spear of the King. In this form you can piece through pretty much anything. Let me show you. Yu teleported behind and sent chakra to his fist. He punches the dummy and releases his chakra in a blast formation. The effect was the dummy's pretty much obliterated. There was no trace of the dummy ever there, and the remaining bits and piece flew everywhere. Naruto was shocked and amazed. He couldn't wait till he learns this. Yu reappeared back to Naruto. You can also do this with Ono Yari, added Yu, sending chakra to his right arm. His right arm started to glow blue. Chakra then started to form around Yu's arm, until it covered it completely and there was a big aura of chakra covering his arm. Kyukyoku no O no Kobushi no Ikigeki, Ultimate King Fist Blow, he shouted and extends his arm, sending the chakra in his arm out in a giant line of chakra beam, like a projectile. Imagine a Kamehameha. The giant chakra beam blasted right through the dummies, and into the forest. Dust collect around the destroyed places. When the dust cleared, Naruto's eyes shot wide open. What Naruto saw was complete destruction. The whole area where Yu shot was destroyed. There was no trace of it, and the trees that got into the line of fire were completely destroyed too. That is my ultimate move. As strong as this is, it is also very dangerous. When you use this move, your arms soar, and your muscle tear. Remember, use only when you're in a pinch, and only once. If you use it twice, well, your arm will probably be immobile. Yu said, which Naruto replied by nodding. There's always a price for everything, he guessed. When you use a powerful jutsu, there always side effect, he guessed. Alright Naruto, let's get started on your hyper speed, said Yu. Naruto happily nodded and he and Yu trained with each other. 4 years later. It has been 4 years since Naruto started his training in the Barong style. This style was pretty hard to learn, since it required an excellent chakra control to do. The Barong style was somewhat complexing, since the style itself was confusing. They had their own taijutsu. He was also able to include all the styles he learned into the Barong style. During his 4 years training, he spends his time training in the Barong style for taijutsu. For Fuinjutsu he master a lot of things from the scroll you gave him. Now he would say he is almost seal master level, though probably not as good as Jiraiya or Minato. He probably needed to train a little more before he gets as good as them. As for his ninjutsu, he would say he was about high chunin, to low jonin level. Sure, the scroll had a lot of ninjutsu techniques, but he spends most of his time with Fuinjutsu and taijutsu. Since Yu himself was a taijutsu specialist, and was pretty good at Fuinjutsu. Probably took after his dad. His relation with his dad went up even higher. Naruto told his dad mostly everything, as well as Yu. Naruto his dad were what you can say best friend. During their supply visit, when Yu flirted with woman, Naruto would just hyper speed and punch him, making him fly away. Yu helped him in Barong Taijutsu and Fuinjutsu when Naruto asked. He even helped Naruto with some ninjutsu as best as he could, though it wasn't much, since he wasn't much of a ninjutsu user himself. Naruto is now a 16-year-old young man. He stood at a height of 5 feet 9. His hair has grew covering his forehead but still in its wild spiky form, Shippuden hair. His body was ripped but not to the point where it would look nasty, if anything it was perfectly ripped or toned. His face was angular and had barely any baby fat left. At the moment he was currently wearing a black shirt that fit his body, and gray shinobi pants. It was noon and Naruto just finished his training his taijutsu. He still hasn't mastered the Barong style, but was still very good at it. His father Yu said that if he continues training like this he would master it in about 2 more years. He told Naruto that it took him about 10 years to master it. So Naruto was pretty happy that he was going to master it before his father teacher. Today was odd. Today his father told him that he had to tell Naruto something. This happened a lot, but today his dad was serious, which made Naruto a little on edge. During his training Naruto kept on thinking what his father was going to tell him. Naruto walked into the home and finds Yu sitting on the kitchen table. With him he had the scroll of Barong clan and a few boxes. Naruto didn't know what it was, so he with caution sat down across of Yu. "Hey dad, what did you want to talk about it?" asked Naruto. Yu looked at him and smiled. "I want one more spar. One last time," replied Yu. Naruto was confused, but he had a feeling that he knew what it was. "Wait, why? Are you leaving or something?" Naruto was now concerned. He didn't know what was going on. "Nah, I ain't leaving, more like it's my time to leave," corrected Naruto. "I was told that it's my time to go. But before I leave I want to have one more spar with you. After that I'll make my decision." All Naruto could do is nod slowly since he didn't know what was happening, but Naruto knew what he wanted, and it was a spar with his father. Even if it was one last time for reasons unknown of. "Alright, let's go," said Naruto, and they both walked outside the door. Both Naruto and Yu stood a few feet away from each other, giving each other a stare down. They gave each other nod and the fight began. Naruto and Yu dashed towards each other. They both threw a straight punch at each other, both ending up hitting each other fist. In an instant they both disappeared and reappeared via hyper speed. Every time they disappeared and reappeared they end up in a deadlock. They end up few feet away from each other once more. Naruto then uses hyper speed to appear behind Yu. Yu knew what would happen and took a step forward, to dodge a punch sent by Naruto. He uses Naruto's miss hit and turns around to send a quick hit to turn around and hit Naruto with a hook punch. Naruto quickly recovered from the punch and sends an uppercut to Yu, making him fly in the sky. Yu flew upwards and Naruto jumped towards Yu and sends him a kick to his side. Or tried to if you didn't block it. Then they started to have an air fight. Naruto and Yu quickly sent each other fast front punches and kicks. The force was strong, they started sending shockwaves, and the shockwaves started making the ground crack. Eventually they landed and Naruto gives Yu a roundhouse to Yu's side. Yu flew back a few steps. Yu was surprised by the force of Naruto's kick but shook it off. He then hyper speed behind Naruto but Naruto sidestepped and blocks a punch. Naruto's eyes shot open when he felt pain hit his stomach. Naruto looked down and saw Yu's feet digged into his stomach. Yu followed through with his kick and sends Naruto flying back in a ridiculous speed. Yu dashed towards the flying Naruto. He uses hyper speed to appear ahead of Naruto, and when Naruto came into range he kicked Naruto into the ground. Naruto coughed up some blood. He opened his eyes to see a foot in front of him. He quickly rolled to the side and bounced back up. Naruto then sweeps his foot but Yu quickly jumped away. Naruto uses this moment to send Yu a bone-crushing uppercut and follows through with it, sending Yu into the sky once more. Naruto once again jumped into the sky, but this time he jumped higher than Yu. Naruto got ready for a dropped kick, and when Yu came into range, he sends Yu a bone-crushing dropped kick. Yu flew into the ground at high speed. When he landed there was dust everywhere. When the dust cleared, Naruto saw Yu in the crater he made form the last kick. Both Naruto and him were both very tired. Their clothes were ragged, ripped and covered in dirt and dust. "Let's finish this, Naruto. One last move," said Yu, which Naruto nodded. Both their right arms started to be enveloped in chakra. The chakra spread and grew larger and larger. Naruto and Yu shot out their arms and both shouted, "Kyukyoku no O no Kobushi no Aikigeki," then giant beam of pure chakra came out of both of them. Both the beam crashed into each other. Naruto tried his best to overpower Yu, but in the end Naruto got overpowered. The light overcame him and he fell unconscious. An hour later Naruto woke up, his body on the ground. He turned to the side to find Yu sitting down in a crisscross fashion. "So you're finally awake, huh?" said Yu, amused. Naruto tried his best to get up and eventually he did while grunting though. Naruto walked over to Yu and sat down next to him. "Hey Two-san, how I do?" asked Naruto. Yu turned to him and smiled. "You did great, I'm proud of you, son," replied Yu with a smile. He then paused for a moment and continued, "Naruto, it's time for me to go, my time's up. I left the scroll and 2 present for you. I have one more lesson for you, Naruto." Naruto leaned in closer to hear what it was. "A genius who don't put in any effort cannot win against a man who works hard. I want you, Naruto, to always work hard and train, never back down, and always remember why you get stronger and fight." They both gave each other a fist bump before Yu's body started turning white. "Well, I guess it's my time to go. Make me proud, son," said Yu. "I will too, san, watch me," replied Naruto. Yu's body turned white and seconds later he disappeared. "Goodbye, too, san. May you rest in peace," said Naruto. Naruto let a tear slid down his face. He wiped the tear and went back inside the house. He looked at the table and picked up the first box. He opened it and found a pair of gloves. With the gloves was a note, which Naruto picked up to read. "Hey there, Naruto. I'm probably be gone by now, so hope you enjoyed my presents. I had this glove specially made. It can withstand pretty much anything, making it impenetrable. Also, I'm giving you a summoning scroll that has been in my family for generations. It's the Dragon Summon. This is also the same summoning that the Raikudo Sennin used to help fight against the Jubi. This scroll has been in our family since the beginning. I want you to have it, but remember one thing, Naruto. Do not, I repeat, do not sign it till you are at least 21. Why? Because the moment you sign it and summon the dragon boss, and he approves of you, then you stop aging physically. That is the reason why I look young when I'm supposed to be like 150 years old. I hope you luck on your journey, Naruto. Oh, and if you didn't open the other box yet, I gave you something that I know you'll love. Naruto put the letter down and put on his new gloves. At first they were big, but after a second they readjusted to fit his hand perfectly. Naruto noticed that on the knuckles part of the gloves were metal round pieces. He sealed the dragon scroll away into the Barong clan scroll. He installed a blood storage seal in the scroll for storing special things like a summon scroll. Naruto then opened the other box and found an awesome trench coat. The trench coat was gray, and had a hood in the back, as well as a collar. The trench coat probably reached down past his knees, but he didn't mind since this coat looks so cool. He assumed he'd grow into it a few more years. At the bottom part of the coat were black belts-like things around the stomach area, and two long strands gray connected to the coat with metal pieces at the end. As well as metal pieces here and there on his coat. Okay, I'm bad at describing things, so imagine Ranga the Bladej, from BlazBlue coat but gray with a hood. Naruto looked at what else was in there and instantly faced faulted on the table. The second thing inside the box was a pair of shades for Naruto and a letter. He seems like you found your other present. Hope you like the coat I gave you, got it customized. Oh, and your coat is fireproof. Now I truly hoped you loved your new pairs of shades. Welcome to the family, Naruto. Oh, and if those shades accidentally breaks, I gave you a scroll that has enough shades to pretty much last you an eternity. So you never have to worry about broken shades ever again. Oh, and I also have you a map of the elemental nations. Hope you luck, son, and make me proud. Naruto's sweat dropped. He put on his new coat, put the storage scroll full of shades away in the family scroll, and got ready to leave. When he was done, he closed the door behind him and opened his map. Now let's see where to go, he thought out loud. Right now he was in the middle of Kaminari no Kuni and Mizu no Kuni. Though Kaminari no Kuni was closer to Konoha in his opinion, so he picked the better out of the two. Alright, Mizu no Kuni it is, yelled Naruto as he begins his journey. Hey, maybe I can visit Kurigakure and find myself a Kenjutsu teacher. He thought to himself, as he continues walking, not knowing what awaits for him in Mizu no Kuni. Naruto was now in Nami no Kuni. It took him about a week travel on a small boat, but he got there eventually. Naruto now wore the trench coat his father gave him, and he absolutely loved it. He realized that the metal pieces were weights, though he could control the output of it since there were seals on them. His gloves felt magical, like it was another pair of skin for him. It never bother or irritate him, and it felt like he wore it all his life. He placed a blood storage seal on his upper arm so he could seal away his family scrolls. Naruto now wore black Jonin pants, shinobi sandals, both of which had weights that Naruto can control. On his pants were two weapon pouches. He also wore the shades that his father gave him. Apparently it was kind of like an Anbu mask for reasons unknown. People who he knew in his village couldn't recognize him. The first step Naruto took in Nami no Kuni, and he saw the country. But when he saw the country was frown. He expected a lively village due to remember that it was a prosperous land when he came to visit with his father. Now all he saw was a deserted land full of poverty. The streets were deserted, homes destroyed, people living on the streets begging for food or money. He saw the faces of the people and it was that of fear. He tried to go up to some but they covered away in fear. Who could have done this? He thought to himself, getting madder at the cause of this. He saw a man sitting by a hut. He walked up to the man. Excuse me, sir, but can yo? He didn't get to finish before the man threw a rock at him. Get away from me. I don't have the money. He shouts. Wait, sir, I think yo. I said get away from me. He threw another rock at Naruto. Naruto dodged it easily and listened to the man. I will find the problem to this, and I will make whoever or whatever pay. He thought as he walked away. His hand clenched in anger. He continued to walk around the village every time being shouted away, or refused to be talked to. This made Naruto mad and wondered what happened to the once prosperous friendly village. After a few hours of walking, Naruto came by another house, though there was no one around this time like the village when he entered. He decided that he probably went through the village center, and now he was probably at the outskirts. As he passed by the hut he heard a small voice crying. Quickly he went and opened the door. What he saw horrified him. There on the ground was covered in blood, and a man who was lying on top of it all. He quickly went to the man. He examined the wound and saw that the man had a large slash across his chest. From what he saw it was still fairly new. "Hey mister, wake up! Wake up!" yelled Naruto. The man coughed out blood, and tried to open his eyes. Then he mumbled something. They took my wife away, please, save her." Naruto wanted to know more. Who did this? He asked. Yugao, and his men, the man managed to say before his body went limp. "Wait sir. Wait. Damn it, wake up. Wake up." Naruto yelled as if his words can save the now dead man. He gently dropped the man, and slammed his fist on the ground creating a small hole. "Damn it," he yelled. He took a deep breath to calm himself. He looked around the room and saw a little girl no older than 5 or 6. She was in a corner hiding and crying. She had long black hair that reached her shoulders. Naruto walked up to the girl, which caused the girl to back up until she hit the wall and couldn't go anywhere. She looked up at Naruto, fear in her eyes. There, I won't hurt you, I promise," said Naruto, giving of a smile. She looked into his eyes and didn't see he was lying. She dropped her guard but was still cautious. "Can you tell me what happened?" She nodded, and explained what happened. "There were bad guys. They took away my mommy. Daddy tried to fight them but they beat him up." She cried, tear coming out of her eyes remembering what happened. Naruto quickly hugged her and tried his best to comfort the small girl. "Don't worry, I'll take care of those bad guys for you and bring back your mommy, okay?" he said. The girl nodded. "What's your name?" The girl answered. "Akane." She replied. "That's a beautiful name," he said, ruffling the Akane's hair. She quickly fixed her hair to see Naruto walking out of the hut. "Wait, Mr. Nice Guy," she called. Naruto turned around to see her almost crying. "Don't leave me, I don't want to be alone," she cried. Naruto, knowing the pain of being alone, walked up to her, and hugged her again. "Okay, you can come, but remember when I say be quiet you have to be quiet. It's going to be dangerous, so always stay close to me, okay?" he said, which Akane nodded. "Also, my name is Naruto." They both walked outside the hut, and gave Akane's dad a proper burial. When they finished it was late at night and Naruto needed a place to stay. Akane was already sleeping and he had to carry her on his back. He traveled around the city looking for an inn or some short. So far every single house or inn he came by, which were rarely, all said they were full. "Are you sure there is no room at least for the girl?" he asked. "No, there isn't, I'm sorry, but we only have a few room in our inn since it is small. Also Gatos his men always come in here and stays here without pay," replied the receptionist. Naruto only nodded. "Sorry for bothering you," he said before he left. They were all the same, all the rooms booked and all taken up by Gato's men. He wanted to do something about this but he didn't have enough information on Gato. Naruto continued walking past the houses. Then something caught his attention. "Ah, someone help me," he heard a lady screamed. He quickly turned his head towards the direction of the noise and headed towards the direction, making sure not to wake Akane up. Minutes later he saw a woman screaming, and two men pulling her away. "Get your hands off my daughter," said an old man, who tried to run at her daughter. Another two men quickly held him back with their weapons. "I gotta help them," Naruto thought. He was about to charge in but then stopped himself when he remembered who he was holding. He didn't know what to do. He didn't want to leave Akane on the ground vulnerable to being attacked, but if he went in right now they might be able to attack him and hurt her. "Shut the hell up, old man," said one of the men. He brought up his sword and was sent slashing downwards at the old man's head. Damn it! Suddenly Naruto's eyes suddenly changed. Inside his eye is an outline of what seems like fire. His eyes also look more cold and seriously. He quickly without thinking carried Akane in a bridal-style carry and hyper-speed into the battle. He held Akane close to his body to avoid her getting hit. Before the man can cut the old man, Naruto appeared in a hyper-speed and kicked the man out of the way. He instantly hyper-speed again and appeared in a few feet away from the old man. In an instant all the men that was attacking the two people flew backwards and were knocked out. "Wah," said the old man shocked. The woman was shocked too. Never in their life had they saw someone who moved so fast. It was shocking. What the hell? Naruto thought, his eyes going back to normal. He was shocked. He didn't know how he beat a number of people in an instant like he seen his father do sometimes when he sneaked up on his father's training to watch him. He can still remember in one of his father's personal trainings. Flashback. Yu was currently in the training ground in the backyard. Naruto had just finished his morning routine and wanted to see where his dad was. He had found him in the backyard but stayed quiet since he wanted to know what his dad was doing. There in the backyard were 30 to 50 wooden dummies all spread out from each other. Naruto noticed that Yu was a good distance of the closest dummy. Naruto thought that Yu was going to hyper-speed and destroy them one by one. What he saw was nothing he ever expected. He was right about one thing, his father using hyper-speed, but he wasn't expecting the result. It was all the dummies destroyed in an instant. All Naruto saw was his father using hyper-speed to move a few steps away from where he stood before, a second or two after he hyper-speed. When his father landed, there was silence for a second until all the dummies were destroyed. All at once, and not one were standing. Naruto didn't know how to explain it. What he saw didn't make any sense. It was as if the weakness of hyper-speed didn't apply to his father. Flashback end. After that Naruto tried to get some answer from his dad but he just chuckled and tell him he will learn in due time. "I'll worry about it later," he thought to himself. Naruto gently dropped Akane and picked up the unconscious men. He hyper-speed away and appeared again, this time with no one. "Well, they should be taken care of," stated Naruto, gently picking up Akane, carrying her like a baby. "Now then, if you excuse me, I need to get going. I need to find a place to stay." Naruto started to walk away. "Wait, we a small inn. If you want you can stay with us," said the lady. Naruto turned around and looked at the lady. He finally got to see her features, and he had to admit she was gorgeous. She had dark blue hair that surrounds her heart-shaped face. She wore some rag clothing but it didn't fail to show her figure. He could easily see an almost hourglass figure, and a pair of C-cup. "Thank you. I've been looking all night for one, the rest was already full," thanked Naruto. The lady and the old man nodded. They went inside the house and Naruto quietly and gently set Akane down on a bed inside one of the inn. He went outside the room to meet the owner of the inn. "Sorry for asking this of you," he apologizes to the owners. "Don't worry about it, kid. Anything to repay for saving us. What your name anyways?" asked the old man. "It's Naruto. Mine's is Tazuna, and this is my daughter Tsunami," said Tazuna, pointing to his daughter. He smiled and nodded. "Hello Tazuna and Tsunami. I must thank you again for allowing us to stay here. Replied Naruto, bowing to the two. Common kid, loosen up, chuckled Tazuna. Naruto relaxed a bit and sat down on the couch. What brings you here, Naruto-san, and is that girl your sister? Asked Tsunami, who wanted to know more about Naruto, since she doesn't remember seeing him in the village. Actually, I was planning on going to Kurigakure to look for a Kenjutsu master so I can continue my training. I came here and was shocked to see what happened. I came here before and remembered that it was once prosperous and friendly village, now it's ruin in poverty and fear within people. Replied Naruto, taking a deep breath before continuing. I found Akane in our crying. When I came inside, I found her father dead, killed by blood loss from a sword slash across his chest. He told me to save his wife, who was taken away from them by someone named Gato and his men. Can you tell me what happened here? Asked Naruto. Tsunami and Tazuna were shocked to hear about Naruto's short journey, then it went to a frown when they heard the name Gato. Gato is an extremely corrupted, greedy, cruel, and evil man. A few years ago, Gato came to Nami no Kuni and made a shipping company known as Gato Company. He was also a smuggler and a drug dealer. With his successful company in smuggling and drug dealing, he had lots of money, and quickly rose into power. Eventually, he took control of Nami no Kuni and struck fear within the people. At first we rebel against him, but after the death of my daughter husband, Kaiza, because he stood up against him. Everyone in Nami no Kuni fell into fear, no one having the courage to stand up against him. Now with Gato running the country, he expects people to pay taxes for literally everything. If you didn't pay, he will take you away and make you a slave if you wear a woman or girl, or sell you to slavery if you wear a man. If you tried to fight back, his men would kill you. He kept the money to himself, letting the village rot, making the village what it is now. Sometimes if he felt like it, he would just send his men to take women away and make them slave for his own personal use. Tazuna paused, letting Naruto take all the information in. He waited for a minute before he continued. If you hadn't saved us, he would have gotten my daughter. I'm actually a bridge builder, and Gato wants me dead. He wants me dead because I'm building a bridge that can help Nami no Kuni's economy, but it will take away Gato's control on the country. He doesn't want to lose his power, so he sent his men to get me. The men earlier that came to my house were sent to kill me and take my daughter away from me. If it hadn't been for you, I'd probably be dead and my daughter a slave. Then no one will be able to care for Inari. Finished Tazuna. Inari? Asked Naruto, confused. He's my son. He's currently sleeping right now. After his father's death, he has lost faith in heroes. He now believes no one can stop Gato. Replied Tsunami, who started to cry thinking about her son and his lost faith. Naruto was quiet, taking in all the information. He then looked at Tazuna and Tsunami. Don't worry, I'll find this Gato and stop him. He announced, determination in his eyes. Tazuna and Tsunami looked at him as if he was on crack. What, Gaki, are you serious? You can't take him and his army of bandits, missing nins, and criminals. Yelled Tazuna. Tsunami nodded, agreeing with her father. You're only like 18, you are young, and you'll be killed. She added. I'm 16, but don't worry about me, I have been training for a long time. I think I can manage myself if those guys are what Gato's men are like. Replied Naruto, getting up. I'm heading up to bed, I'll look for some information tomorrow. He said before heading up to bed. Tazuna didn't get to finish because Naruto but him of. Don't worry about me, but you should find some people to protect you, maybe a group of ninjas. Since Gato is after you, you need protection. I can only do so much. Tazuna, feeling like he can't change Naruto's mind, stopped trying. Don't worry about that, I already sent out a mission and will be heading out tomorrow to pick up the team. He replied. I'll try my best to protect your daughter, grandson, home and bridge, till you come back. Thank you again for allowing me and Akane to stay here. After that, Naruto went up to his and Akane's room so that he could sleep. Their room was actually a giant room that could probably fit around 10 people. They told him that this was the only room they had, since the small room were their room. Naruto wasn't complaining though, at least he found a place for him and Akane to sleep in. The next morning, Naruto was greeted by a little girl's face up close to his face. Ah! He shouts, jumping from his sleeping position. He looked over to see Akane looking at him. You shouldn't scare me like that, Akane-chan. He tells her. Okay, hurry up and freshen up, then I'll introduce you to the owners of the inn, who let us stay here. Okay, Naruto ni. She replied. He raised an eyebrow at the ni, but decided not to ponder too much on it. Akane and Naruto both freshened up and went downstairs to see Tsunami, Tazuna and a little boy around the age of 7 or 8, at the dinner table. Tsunami was making breakfast. From what Naruto could see was eggs, bacon, and toast. Tazuna was currently packing things into a backpack, and had a straw hat on the side of the table. The little boy was sitting on the chair, a clean plate in front of him. He was staring down at it, not caring what is happening in the world around him. Hello Tsunami-san, Tazuna-san, here's the rent pay for about a week or two, said Naruto, reaching into his pocket and pulling out a small bag full of money. He put it on the table near Tazuna. No, I can't take this, said Tazuna, giving Naruto back his bag of money. It's only fair that I pay for how long I stay. Especially in times like these, I'm pretty sure that you need the money. After what you did for us yesterday, you can stay here for free, added Tsunami, putting breakfast on the 5 plates present. Are you sure? At least take half, I don't want to be a burden. Fine, we'll take half. Now let's eat some breakfast, grunted Tazuna. Man, was this boy stubborn. Naruto and Akane sat down. Naruto sat next to Akane, while Akane sat next to the boy. Naruto noticed him, asked, Is that your kid Tsunami-san? Yes, Naruto-san, his name is Arani, she replied, then turned her attention to Arani. Inari, say hello to Naruto-san, and Akane-chan. Hello Naruto-san, Akane-san. He greeted with a monotone voice. He quickly gave them a glance and went to get his breakfast and ate in silence. Tsunami and Tazuna frowned at their son-grandson behavior, though Naruto didn't care much about it. Though Akane was staring at the Inari, wondering why he is so sad. They got breakfast and ate. So Tazuna-san, are you going to work or something? Asked Naruto. Tazuna finished eating the piece of bacon before replying. No, I'm getting ready to head to the village, to pick up the team that accepted my request, just like I told you yesterday, replied Tazuna, now attacking the eggs. Naruto nodded and went back to finish his breakfast. He didn't really want to know what village Tazuna was going to, since it wasn't his business. This was going to bite Naruto sooner or later. When everyone was done, they spent an hour or so preparing for Tazuna's trip and saying their goodbyes. Now Tazuna was outside waving at the people by the door, which consists Tsunami, Inari, Naruto and Akane. Alright guys, I'm heading off, he said. I'll try my best to watch over your house and family until you come back, said Naruto. Tazuna only nodded and went on to his journey. When Tazuna's body faded away, the group went back into the house. Naruto looked over at the clock and noticed it was almost noon. He looked over at the people present. Tsunami was already baking lunch, while Inari apparently was gone. Akane was currently sitting on the couch, though awkwardly. Should I find information on Gato, or wait till Tazuna comes back for Kami knows how long? He thought to himself, before decided to spend a little time trying to find as much information as he could. Tsunami-san, can you make lunch in a bento for me? I'm going to go out and find information on Gato. He asked. Tsunami replied, sure, giving him a smile. Thank you. Naruto then walked up to his room and got some things ready. He didn't notice Akane following him though. When he was done, he finally noticed Akane behind him. Naruto ni, where are you going? She asked him. I'm going to find information so that I can save your mommy. Replied Naruto. Can I come with you? She asked, hope in her eyes. I'm sorry, I can't let you go with me. It's dangerous, I don't want anything to happen to you. Naruto replied. Akane frowned and tears started to form in her eyes, thinking Naruto will leave her and she would be alone. Naruto felt heartbroken. Fine, how about when I come back I'll play with you, and maybe we can explore this country. Akane was instantly happy and nodded, making Naruto smile. Now then, go play with Inari. He said to Akane. They both walked back into the kitchen to see Tsunami having a bento for Naruto. Here's the bento you asked for, but please be careful out there. She said. Naruto nodded and took the bento from Tsunami. Can you take care of Akane while I'm gone? Tsunami nodded and took hold of Akane's hand, which she gladly accepted. Naruto bent down to Akane. I'll try to be home as fast as I can. Then we can play after. He told her. Promise? She asked. Promise, and I never break my promises. He told her. He walked outside the house and into the main part of the village. Main village. Naruto was now walking through the village once again. It already been about 4 hours and he went back to the inns that had Gato men staying in. When he got there, he was told they left. I'm sorry sir, but every morning they leave, said the male receptionist. I see, sorry for bothering you. Naruto replied and walked outside the inn. Once again nothing. He sighed. I heard you've been looking for information on Gato, said a mysterious figure. Naruto was instantly alerted and turned to his side to see an old man sitting at the side of the road. Yeah, you do have any information on him? Asked Naruto. Not much though, if that's fine with you, replied the old man. Better than nothing I've been getting. So, do you know why they all leave? Naruto asked. I'm not entirely sure, but from what I heard there's this meeting place that they go to, replied the man. Do you know why or what they do there? No, I'm sorry, but I can only guess. I think it's to check and see if they are doing their jobs, with the valuables, money, and probably women they collect. Do you know anything else? No, sorry kid. Thank you sir. Naruto then started to walk away from the old man. Hey kid, called the man. Yeah, asked Naruto, turning around to face the man. Just wondering though, but what do you plan to do? The old man asked. Nothing. Naruto simply replied and went on his way. Deciding he had enough information, he decided to go home. The old man smirked. Hope you luck on your journey kid. Hey, who knows, maybe one day the kid will do some big things. The old man thought, not knowing that his thoughts may be true. Tazuna Inn. Naruto came home and was surprised by what he saw. Inari was happily playing with Akane. Tsunami was currently smiling while watching the two play with each other. What happened here? Asked Naruto, getting everyone's attention. Naruto ni, shouts Akane, running up to hug Naruto. Naruto returned the hug though was still confused. Truthfully, he thought Inari was going to be stuck up in his room, while Tsunami and Akane play with other. Let me explain, said Tsunami, getting Naruto's attention. Flashback. Akane was currently sitting by herself while Tsunami was preparing lunch. Akane was beyond bored. She was bored to the point that she thought she was dead. Akane, Inari, lunch is ready, said Tsunami. Akane instantly got to the dinner table while Inari got out of his room looking depressed, slowly walking up to the table. Akane, getting annoyed of his sad look, decided to speak out. Hey, what's your problem? Why you look so sad all the time? She asked. Inari didn't pay any mind to her. Hey, look, I'm talking to you. She said once again. This time Inari spoke. It's none of you business, he simply said. I don't care, you're always sad. Cheer up. Inari had it with this girl. Leave me alone. You don't know the pain I have. You have your brother, while my two-san was killed. I bet you still have your parents. Yelled Inari. Inari, stop it. Yelled Tsunami. Arani didn't listen and looked at Akane angrily. Akane, though still small, had a slight brain to know what people are saying. My daddy was killed yesterday, and bad guys took my mommy away. I was alone until Naruto ni found me. You still have your grandpa and mommy. I know Naruto ni will help mind my mommy, he's strong. Akane argued back, yelling at Inari, tears in her eyes as she started to cry. Tsunami came over to comfort her, while Inari looked at her in shock. She had it worse than me. He thought before he went over to walk up to Akane and pat her on the back. I'm sorry, he said. Akane looked up at him and told him that it was alright. Flashback end. After that they started playing with each other. It was thanks to her that my son is happy again. I have to thank you again for coming here. You helped my son even if it wasn't intentional. Said Tsunami. It's nothing really, don't worry about it. Replied Naruto. So how was your search? Asked Tsunami. Naruto sighed. Not good, I didn't get much information. Naruto then crouched down at Akane. Still want to play with me or you want to play with Inari? Asked Naruto. You promise you play with me? Said Akane with a pout, thinking Naruto wasn't going to keep his promise. Naruto chuckled and picked Akane up. Alright, let's play outside. He then carried her outside. You can come too if you want. He told Inari. Inari smiled and followed after him. Tsunami smiled and went to watch them for a little bit before she prepared dinner for them. As Naruto carried Akane, his mind went into another direction. Maybe I can look in the concepts of Rasengan from the scroll I got from him. Man, I owe him a lot, freaking him and his copying skills. Naruto thought before his turning his attention to Akane and started playing with the kids. Konoha 3 days after Tazuna left. Screw these D-rank missions. I want higher rank missions so I can prove my worth to Sasuke-kun. Roared Sakura. She and her team, which consists of her beloved Uchiha Sasuke-kun and Narumi Uzumaki Namikaze, or just Uzumaki now, for some reason, she refused to take up the Namikaze name. The three of them together were the infamous Team 7 with Hitaki Kakashi as their Jonin sensei. Right now they are going to the Hokage Tower to report another complete mission. Sakura leading the group, Sasuke and Narumi following behind her, and Kakashi at the end. Sakura giving glances at Sasuke, while Sasuke was being the brooding king as well as giving lecherous glances to Narumi. Narumi herself was glaring at Sasuke, ready to take out her katana and slice this brooding idiot to pieces. Kakashi wasn't paying much attention to his team, since he was deeply reading the Orange Book, much to Narumi's annoyance. It's been half a year since they passed the ninja exams at age 16. Their age has been moved up because the village didn't want their next generation of ninjas to die in missions because they are young and inexperienced. Plus it was a time of peace for Konoha, so they didn't need to worry about war yet. They moved up the age so the academy students will have more time to train and get stronger before having a team and going on missions. Narumi had to cover her ears before they would go deaf. Damn it, woman, shut up. Narumi mentally yelled in her head. Narumi, now 16, grew up to be a beautiful woman. Though she was still growing, she developed a height of 5 feet 4 inches, and an impressive C-cup bust, and it was still growing. She had an angelic heart-shaped face, much like her mother Kushina, though the difference was that she had light blue eyes, unlike her mother gray eyes. Her hair grew out like her mother, except the yellow in her hair was more defined, Sometimes the only way people could tell the difference between Narumi and her mother Kushina were from the hair and eyes. She had a developing hourglass figure that can make both men and women die with nosebleeds. Narumi's skills has gotten better, though only a genin. She was overall a mid-chunin to high chunin. She got help from many people when they have free time, and weren't on missions. With the help of Itachi, Anko, and sometimes Makoto, her ninjutsu were low chunin. Kurenai helped her with her genjutsu, which was high genin, but she didn't excel in genjutsu. Her kenjutsu was her best area, much like her mother. With the help of her mother, and Yugao, she is now high chunin to low junin in terms of kenjutsu and still improving. She has gotten a lot of help from them and is very grateful. After the event of her brother leaving, she felt as though it was her fault for the cause of his disappearance. She cried for days after he left. Her mom tried to comfort her but ended up crying along with her. She remember when she first met the Kyuubi no Yoko, it was only a few days after Naruto's disappearance. Also the day she gained both the power and the soul of the Kyuubi. Flashback. Narumi was hit by a sudden white light, which entered into her seal. She woke up and found herself in a sewer, a giant steel cage in front of her. Keeping the cage together was a paper that had a kanji that said, seal, on it. Where am I? Asked the little red head to no one in particular. She started looking at her surrounding and noticed she was standing on water, but the room or area was dark except for the gate itself, but even then it was of a gray-greenish color. She was suddenly met by a giant red fox's face. Its eyes glaring daggers at her, making her flinch. It started to come out of the shadow to show more of its body. Narumi could see its giant sharp claws, its razor-sharp teeth, and 9 tails waving behind the body. KK Kyuubi! Narumi exclaimed, her eyes widened in shock but mostly fear. She thought she was going to die, even knowing for a fact that the Kyuubi was currently sealed away, making it nearly impossible for it to kill her, much less leave that kgae it was stuck in. It seems my new old jailer isn't as stupid as I thought she would be, said Yoko, still in her fox form. Narumi, still scared, tried her best to reply, what do you want with me? Nothing really, just wanted to greet you, that's all, and say you were an idiot to try and use my powers. Narumi was mad because she was constantly called an idiot. What is that supposed to mean? The Kyuubi's presence sinking in, making it easier for her. I mean what I mean, you're stupid. My power is full of destructive power, darkness, and evil. If you tried to control it, you would have been consumed within the darkness and go mad. Without me, who can only control all that power, you would have gone mad if you tried to use its power more than you already have tried. How do you know that? Simple, really. The soul and the power must live together like sun and moon, or yin and yang. If you split them up, then all you have is massive chakra, power, and no way to control it. They must live together like your own chakra and your soul or body. Narumi, even though young, could understand the basic concept. So I can't use your powers? Asked Narumi. Well, you can now, but I'm not going to let you. Kyuubi simply replied, making Narumi's eyes widened. What, why? That's because you're a spoiled brat. I have watched everything from Naruto-kun's seal. I saw the way you and your family treated him, and I am very disappointed in you and your mother Kushina. Narumi became sad when Kyuubi mentioned Naruto. She didn't even notice the kun suffix Kyuubi used on his name. She started rethinking about her actions towards Naruto and felt ashamed of herself. Then she realized something. Wait, if you're here, then that means she didn't get to finish because Yoko stopped her. Yes, he is dead, said Yoko sadly. Once he died, I was released and went back to my power. That is why I'm here. Yoko lied, but she didn't want her to know about Naruto yet, not until she was sure that Narumi really felt sorry. Truth be told, she slightly went through her mind or memory and was shocked to see her care for Naruto. These memories starting from a few years ago, but it would seem they weren't as strong in her mind of a child that wanted attention would get the better of her. She lied only to test if her assumptions are correct, and decided whether or not Narumi deserved to know the truth. Now I'm going to take a nap, so don't bother me. Yoko went back into the cell to sleep and later observe her new container. Later, after she cried herself even more, thinking she forever lost her Ni-chan and will never tell him how sorry she was. Flashback end. Eventually Yoko couldn't stand her being sad all the time and told her the truth. When Narumi heard it, she was overjoyed and vowed to become strong and find her Naruto Ni, and prove to him how strong she will become. She also wanted to find him and apologize and make up for her mistakes. Even after her vowed and determination, and knowing the truth, she still cries from time to time. Yoko and her mother would comfort her. She wished she could have went back in time to fix her mistakes, so Naruto would still be with her. Her relationship with Yoko went up drastically. After her vowed, Yoko would help her with her training. Even with their connecting relationship, Yoko wouldn't allow her to use her chakra because she didn't want her to depend on it. The only reason she was going to use Yoko's chakra is when she is in danger of dying, and that's it, as well as fast healing from time to time. She wanted Narumi to get stronger on her own and to only depend on her own power, plus she also had the feeling that she wouldn't be in Narumi forever. After they would talk about things, and Yoko would tell her about Naruto, his treatment, training, mostly everything she knew about him. Though it wasn't much since they were young, Narumi couldn't help but be sad and fascinated. Sad because she was part of Naruto's pain, and fascinated because of the training Naruto did, and how strong he was even after the pain he endured. After the incident between her mother and father, and Yoko telling her about the village treatments to Naruto. When she heard this, she was mad, no, downright pissed off. She wanted to kill every civilian that hurt her Oni-chan. Then Yoko told her the person who was the cause of it all, her father Minato Namikaze. She had doubts at first, but when she asked her mother said it was true. After she grew a hate for her father, because he allowed her Oni-chan to get hurt, simply for the village. She realized that her father only cared about his Hokage position, and that the village came before family. Even now she notices that he doesn't care much about Naruto. After Naruto's disappearance, he just went on with his Hokage duties. Now she hates her father with a passion. She refused to take up the Namikaze name, saying that she didn't to have any relations with him. Even then, it is only a name that she can get rid of, not the blood that runs in her. Being the last Namikaze, she was trained by Minato to learn the clan's secrets, techniques, and skills, as well as controlling the Kyuubi's chakra, seeing as she needed it, but she knew it was to train the village weapon. That part of training only caused to be a failure for Minato, since it seems to never work, which annoyed him to no end. She would avoid talking to him, giving him glares or just emotionless glances at him. During their training she would only do what he told her and after left. She was always cautious of him since he was a Funijitsu master, so he could put a Funijitsu on her that can do whatever he wanted. At the moment he hasn't done anything yet, but you can never be too sure. The villagers cheered after Naruto's disappearance, saying the demon was finally gone. It angered her that people were cheering the disappearance or death of someone who saved their village. After both Kushina and Narumi left Minato, a lot of the villagers were mad, some saying that they were influenced by the demon and should return back to Hokage-sama. Though they didn't listen to them. Some villagers once assaulted Narumi, but she quickly scared them off, and they never tried to assault her again. She now lives alone with her mother, Kurenai, Yugao, and Anko. At first they were skeptical, but after Kurenai, Yugao, and Anko explained that they helped Naruto trained and didn't hurt him like the others, they welcomed them with open arms. The reason the three wanted to stay with Kushina and Narumi is because they hated the village treatment and wanted to help Kushina and Narumi as much as possible. Kurenai and Yugao wanted to help their sensei because they deeply respected her. Also, the three were getting tired of mistreatment, mostly Anko. Yugao and Kurenai have their fair share for being the snake bitch friend. The three of them also only got look of lust from the male population, something that annoyed them greatly, seeing as the males only wanted to get into their pants and most likely leave them. They decided that they should stay together and wanted to stay with their sensei. They now live in a small house with the help of all of them paying together. They all helped each other, and helped keep the house clean and safe. Throughout the years living together, she has gotten close to all of them, including her mother, Makoto, and somewhat Itachi. For reasons unknown, even when he doesn't have any missions, he would disappear, and come back later that night. Though disliked by some because of leaving their Hokage, and being influenced by the demon, she was still a very beautiful woman, and many men varying from her age group all the way to even middle-aged men would give her lecherous glances, which disgusted her to no end. It didn't help that her mother was viewed a hero because of her past accomplishments in the previous Shinobi War and stopping the Uchiha Rebellion. In truth, she was getting revenge on those that hurt Naruto, which she was glad of. They deserved it for constantly hurting Naruto. Also, her mother is one of the most wanted bachelorette in Konoha and probably all of the elemental nation. Being the daughter of two well-known heroes, she was sought by many her age. She had a fan club, something that she truly hates since it was annoying as hell. There are many times when she was asked out to my guys, which she flat out rejected, killing their hopes. Even rejected nobles that propose, ask her out. Though there were some that were very persisting. One person is Brood King, Duck-Ass Hair, Uchiha Sasuke. The arrogant fool cannot take no as an answer for some reason. He always demanded her that she had to marry him to restore his almighty clan, and that he was an Uchiha, an elite, that she has to listen to him. She wondered how he and Itachi were related, since he had a stick so up his, and Itachi was kind and helpful. There wasn't anyone in Konoha that has ever gotten her interest. There was one person who has, but that person was out of her reach. The thing is, she hasn't met him in a long time. Yes, that's right, it was her Oni-chan, Uzumaki Naruto. True, a relationship like this isn't right, but after talking to her mom, she said it was okay to have these feelings for Naruto. She even told her that many clans have incest to keep their bloodlines alive. How these feelings started was when she and Yoko would have their talk. After Yoko's stories of Naruto, she couldn't help but be marveled by Naruto. She liked and admired how strong and smart Naruto was. As time continued, the feeling only grew and grew. Sometimes when she's sleeping, she would imagine an older Naruto around her age. An handsome blonde man, that was Naruto. Now all Narumi does is D-ranked missions, train with her team, if it's even called a team. After she would go home and train with her mom, Yugao, Kurenai, or Anko, whoever was home and wasn't away with mission to get money for the family as they call themselves now. At least 3 times a week she would train with her team to improve their non-existing teamwork. It was a horrible team. One, you have the duck-ass hair Sasuke boasting about his elite Uchiha, how he is unstoppable or something. Then their hopeless fangirl howler pink hair girl you can like scream from Konoha and you can hear it all the way from Kumo. Then there's Kakashi, the perverted lazy who trains Sasuke pretty much. Anyways, enough of Narumi, let's go back to the storyline. Team 7 was currently in front of the Hokage's door. Narumi sighed before Sakura opened the door to the Hokage's office. There sitting down on the chair was Minato Namikaze and an old man. Everyone glanced at the old man for a second and paid their attention to Minato. Team 7 mission success, Minato-sensei, said Kakashi. Sasuke was brooding in a corner, Sakura gazing at his coolness, and Narumi was giving Minato an emotionless look. Minato sighed. He had gotten used to that look, after the disappearance of that child. How he wished to have that child back so he can get back his family and his image. It's because of that child, Kushina found out about everything. He just sighed and put it to the back of his mind. Truthfully, he didn't really care. As long as he was Hokage, he didn't need to worry about small things like those. The village came first, and that's what he needs to do, to ensure that the village is safe, and on top. That's great to hear, Team 7. Report here tomorrow and you'll have another mission, replied Minato. Kakashi nodded while Sakura frowned. Hokage-sama, but can we have a C-ranked mission? I mean, we already completed like over 200 D-ranked missions. Asked Sakura, hoping she get a yes. Minato pulled out a scroll, which were Team 7 records. Minato was examining its record. It seems you are correct. Fine, then hope that you can handle this. This man here, his name is Tazuna and he needs an escort to Nami no Kuni. This is a C-ranked mission, do you want to accept? Asked Minato. Sure, I think my team can handle it, replied Kakashi with an eye smile. Minato nodded and looked over to Tazuna, who nodded. Sakura squealed at having the chance to prove herself to Sasuke. Sasuke just huff, and Narumi sighed. After they walked outside with Tazuna. Okay team, we will be meeting at the gates the next morning, and remember to pack for at least a week, said Kakashi before disappearing in a shunshin. Narumi went back to her home as fast as she could, while Sakura tried to ask Sasuke out only to get rejected. Narumi's house. Narumi finally reached home and noticed that her mother was home. She was currently lying on the couch reading a magazine on cooking. Hello Ka-san, I'm home, said Narumi. Kushina stopped reading and sat up looking at Narumi. Kushina somehow still looked the same as she did 7 years ago, with little changes. Though around the 30s, she looked as though she is only around 25. Still having her goddess figure, and perfectly heart-shaped face. Her long beautiful maroon hair reaching all the way down to lower legs. Her impressive bust somehow seems to grow into a D-cup to DD-cup bust. She was what most women envy and most men die for. Hello Narumi-chan, how was your day? Asked Kushina. It was okay, normal, another successful mission, training, pretty much, replied Narumi. Though today Sakura asked for a C-rank mission, and tomorrow is going to be my first C-rank mission, said Narumi, explaining the details of the mission to Kushina. Kushina smiled at her daughter. That's great Narumi-chan. Hope you luck on your mission, and don't worry, I think you're strong, you can handle it, if you need help you know what to do, she said, which Narumi nodded sadly. Kushina noticed this and hugged her. I miss him Ka-san, said Narumi. I know, me too, but don't worry, he is out there somewhere. We will see him eventually, replied Kushina. How would you know Ka-san? The last time I saw him was 8 years ago. All I can do is believe he is still alive and that I can see him again. Narumi started crying. She missed him a lot. Even knowing he was alive didn't help since that information was from a long time ago. She kept on thinking that he would be fine, but her mind sometimes thought of scenarios where something happened to Naruto while he was traveling. Trust me Masumi. He's safe and strong, he can take care of himself. Comfort Kushina. True, she missed Naruto as well as worry about him. She knew he was safe, she was positive he was safe. There was a secret she hadn't wanted to tell her daughter but hasn't told her yet. Should I tell her? Kushina thought to herself. No, not yet. Not until I get his opinion first. Narumi nodded and said, Alright, Ka-san want to make dinner together. Kushina smiled and nodded. Narumi and Kushina made dinner and waited for the rest of the family to come home so they can eat together. When they came, Narumi told them the news and they congratulated her. After they ate and Narumi went to her room to back for the mission tomorrow and went to sleep early. Morning village gate. The next morning Narumi waited with Tazuna for her team. She came an hour earlier than the supposed time, so she waited. They talked for a little bit, getting to know each other. Narumi learned that Tazuna has a daughter and grandson, and owns an inn. While Tazuna learned a little bit about Narumi, wasn't much though. Sasuke and Sakura came an hour later, and Kakashi 2 or 3 hours later. It annoyed her how late he was all the time. Alright, let's go, said Kakashi. Thus the 5 of them left Konoha, and were heading to Nami no Kuni, not knowing what will happen when they get there. I'll prove my worth to Sasuke-kun, thought Sakura, looking at Sasuke, and frowned when she saw him look at Narumi. I'll make you my wife and we will restore my clan, thought Sasuke. Haha, yeah right. I wondering how the Gaki doing, thought Tazuna, thinking back to Naruto and hoping he well. He couldn't wait to see him. Narumi looked up to the sky. Naruto ni, I miss you. I wish I can see you again, she told herself. Unknown to her, her wish may come true. Naruto was currently walking through the streets of Wave, hoping to find a direct lead to Gato. It was just after 3 in the morning, and the streets were completely empty. Naruto hadn't slept at all that night. After the receptionist at that one inn told him that Gato's men always left before dawn, and after receiving the tip from the mysterious old man that they always seemed to meet as a group somewhere in the early morning hours, Naruto tried to catch 1 or 2 of Gato's goons, but he was always too late. Out of options, he decided to stay awake and stake the inn out, hoping to catch sight of Gato's thugs as they came out. As he reached the inn, Naruto chose a crate in the alleyway to the side of the building as his stakeout spot. He would just have to wait for Gato's men to come out. Stakeouts were probably the most boring task that a shinobi could perform. Even guard duty was preferable, as that was usually done with 2 or more, so at least you could talk to someone while you were performing your duty. Stakeouts were best done solo, and even if someone was staking the area of recon out with you, you had to remain quiet so that you could remain undetected. Feeling himself beginning to nod off, he made a cage bunchen to keep watch from the alley while he quietly jumped up to the roof of the inn to catch a short nap. It was still dark out when the clone released itself, giving what it learned to Naruto. The clone had heard the sounds of early rising activity from several people within the inn. Naruto realized that this was probably from Gato's thugs waking up and getting ready for their little meeting. He shook off his drowsiness, crept over to the side of the roof, and looked down, taking care to stay just out of sight just in case one of Gato's men chanced to look upward. He noticed 4 burly, rough-looking men strutting out the front door of the inn like they owned the place. No doubt about it, these were the men he was looking for. Well, I sure am glad I didn't sleep the entire night. As much as I hate stakeouts, if I hadn't done this, I never would have caught sight of these guys, Naruto thought to himself in gratitude and relief, both that the stakeout was over and that he finally had a lead to Gato. His stakeout successful, it was now time to tail them and see where they led him. Forest 3 miles from village. Naruto followed the group he was tailing for what he estimated to be an hour or so, if the light from the coming dawn was any indicator. He didn't even have to take to the trees. All he did was walk a good enough distance away from them to keep out of their sight or hearing, yet close enough so that his own trained senses could easily pinpoint them. It wasn't hard as they didn't really check their surroundings. He guessed that they probably didn't see a reason to do so, as the village had been sufficiently cowed in the time they had occupied it to keep anyone from trying anything brave. After seeing that they had stopped, Naruto slowed his movement, keeping quiet while finding a hiding spot up in a tree, about 80 feet above them. Sending a little chakra to his eyes and ears to enhance his sight and hearing, he looked down and concentrated on the sounds coming from the clearing. A group of 15 men, including the 4 that Naruto had tailed here, were all in a circle, surrounding several women, all tied up on the ground and gagged, whimpering and crying in fear as the men surrounding them taunted and harassed them, laughing sadistically all the while. Knowing that the best option for now was to stay out of sight, Naruto continued watching and listening, gathering intel while waiting for his chance to strike and help those women. Whine all you want, bitches. No one is coming to save you. You're lucky that the boss ordered us to bring you to him, unspoiled, said one of the men with an evil smirk. The way the man said, unspoiled, told Naruto that these men would likely have raped them all given half the chance. He began to get very angry, but held himself in check, knowing that jumping in now and killing them all would be counterproductive. He might save these women, but he'd be no closer to knowing where Gato was holed up, and more men would be sent to collect these women anyway, probably while killing some villagers just to make sure nobody tried anything like that again. He continued to listen in and watch. Another group of 5 men showed up a few minutes later with a horse-drawn cage wagon. Right on time, said the man who had spoken earlier. Not a bad batch this week, huh, Botan? Asked the leader of the other group. This week. So they collect women on a weekly basis, then why meet daily? Naruto pondered to himself, while continuing to observe. That's right, Taro, Gato-sama will be a happy man this week. Said the now identified Botan, again with that evil smirk as he turned to his men and ordered, all right, boys. Load 'em up. The others followed his order and began dragging each of the now hysterical women to their feet and towards the cage wagon as one of Taro's men opened to cage gate. Seeing the way that these men were handling the women, fondling them forcefully while dragging them to that cage caused Naruto's anger to swell into rage. Decided that enough was enough, he jumped down from his position and landed in the clearing between the wagon and the group dragging the women, blocking their path. Wait, what? I thought you weren't followed. Taro shouted in anger and surprise. We weren't. Botan shouted, just as surprised as Taro was. Gria. Whatever. Just kill him. Taro shouted in frustration. They released their hold on their captives, shoving them to the ground, and all 20 of them readied their blades, mostly knives and daggers, though Taro and Botan had chikudos, and charged at Naruto. Naruto smirked and jumped as one of them swiped at him, causing him to stumble and fall to the ground as he lost his balance. Naruto took the opportunity and landed on the man's back with his hand, pinning him there. The other men were still charging at him. Naruto overlapped his hands in a counterclockwise fashion, which made his body start spinning. He spread his legs in a perfect 180-degree split and started making his body spin with his hands, kicking all the men that were charging at him with his spinning kick. Naruto then pushed himself off the man he was on to do a flip, kicking that man on the side of his head in the process knocking him unconscious. Naruto landed on his feet, and looked behind him. 5 of them were down, including the man he had just gotten off of. Arg! One of them yelled, charging at Naruto with his dagger, take this, ya little bastard. He slashed at Naruto sloppily, with Naruto easily dodging the attack just by moving his upper body. The man continued slashing, only to have Naruto easily dodge and sidestep the attacks with minimal effort and a smirk of amusement, enraging the man and causing his slashes to become even sloppier. Naruto noticed 3 more coming from behind the man attacking him. He quickly ducked a slash that was aimed at his head, and in the same motion, Naruto swept the man's legs out from under him with such speed that the man seemed to float in the air for a few brief moments. Quickly, Before the man could even touch ground, Naruto kicked the man into the other three charging at him. The man flew into the three really hard, sending them flying towards a rather thick tree. They hit the tree with enough force to create indentations in its trunk before they all crumpled to the ground, unconscious and twitching. Naruto looked out the corners of both eyes as his two-san had taught him when fighting multiple attackers, and noticed that a man was charging him from the left, while another was charging him from the right, hoping to catch him in a pincer-style attack. Noticing also that both men were aiming to attack his upper body, Naruto ducked to dodge their blows. He then crouched and tensed his legs before pushing himself upwards while sending the palms of each hand into the jaw of each attacker, sending them upwards into the air. Naruto then jumped up and kicked both of them simultaneously to 4 others in mid-charge, taking down 6 in total. Naruto looked at the remaining 5. They were a distance away and were cautiously looking at Naruto. "Come on, let's kill this punk. He can't take us all at once," yelled Botan, despite what he had just seen. Before they could even move, however, Naruto was in front of them so fast that they could have sworn he teleported to them. The sudden movement shocked them. Before they could even ponder what had just happened, Naruto punched and kicked them in the stomach, knocking them out. Well, that takes care of da. Naruto didn't finish as he was slashed at the face. Naruto easily dodged the attack, making it slash his cheek and making it bleed. Naruto turned to face the last man, seeing that it was Taro. Naruto briefly cursed himself for being so careless and miscounting, guessing that the man hid from his presence to attack him when he didn't notice. Naruto and Taro faced off in front of each other, both of them standing only a few feet apart. As Naruto sized up his single remaining adversary, a thought occurred to him: maybe I can get some more intel out of this one. Taro made the first move to try and slash Naruto again, but Naruto instantly vanished and reappeared a few yards away from the man. In the next instant, Naruto vanished and reappeared again in front of Taro, quickly kneeing him in the stomach and making him drop his sword. Naruto then grabbed his arm, pulled it behind his back and twisted, causing his shoulder to strain just to stay in place. "Now tell me where Gato is," demanded Naruto, locking Taro's arm behind him with the one hand while holding a kunai against his neck with the other. "I don't know," replied Taro, trying to get free as his captor's grip on his arm tightened, threatening to tear his shoulder from his socket. "Don't lie to me. Tell me where he is," Naruto demanded again, bringing the kunai closer to Taro's neck, opening a small cut and making blood drip down. Taro, now frightened for his life, and grunting through the pain in his shoulder, responded, "I'm not lying. I really don't know. My job is to bring the captives to someone else, who just takes them off my hands and I go on my way. I don't know who it'll be, because it's a different guy from week to week, but I would guess that whoever I give them to takes the girls to Gato from there. They always contact me with details of where to meet, and it's never the same place twice. I'm due to get a message from someone tomorrow, but if they see something wrong, they automatically turn around and tell Gato, so you can't wait and attack them." Naruto gritted his teeth, then punched the man in the stomach, knocking him out. Once again, nothing, thought Naruto angrily, cursing himself once more, this time for losing his cool and not letting the situation play itself out before he stepped in. He turned to look at the women whom he had freed. Well, it wasn't a total loss. At least I saved them, he thought, in an effort to lift his own spirits despite his impetuous actions. As he walked over to the group of captive women, they all tried to move away from him. "Please, don't be afraid. I'm not here to hurt any of you," said Naruto softly and calmly, a reassuring smile crossing his features while he made slow, deliberate movements so as not to frighten them any more than they already were. Upon seeing his smile, and the compassion in his eyes that was absent in the eyes of their captors, they all relaxed. Some of them blushed when they took in Naruto's appearance. When he reached them, he slowly and carefully removed their gags and untied their bindings. Each woman thanked him profusely upon being untied, all hugging him, some of them kissing him in gratitude. Naruto just took it in stride, grinning and chuckling sheepishly at their overtures. After he had released them all, he helped them to their feet. After making sure that they were all unharmed, he offered, "Let's get all of you back home, huh? I'll walk you back to make sure you don't get captured again." The women all nodded in acceptance, this time not a single one without a blush and a dreamy smile at their handsome savior. One of the girls, seeing the gash on Naruto's face, searched the unconscious bandits to see if any of them by chance had a first aid kit. One of them did, and she was able to clean Naruto's gash and disinfect it before patching it up with some gauze and medical tape. Once she had finished with Naruto's cut, Naruto walked back towards the village with all of them at a leisurely pace. None of those girls could have imagined that getting captured by Gato's goons could have had such a pleasant ending for them. 3 hours later, it was noon by the time Naruto had finished bringing the girls back to their families, taking each of them home one at a time, and never leaving their side until the very last one was safe and sound. He had returned 9 of the women to their families, and the only one still in his care was a young, yet mature beauty with long black hair, porcelain skin and slate gray eyes. Naruto guessed her age to be within her late 20s to early 30s, he certainly wasn't about to ask. Her clothes were ragged and dirty, probably from being held as a captive. "Excuse me ma'am, but where do you live?" asked Naruto. At this question, the woman lost her smile and became downcast. "It wouldn't matter anyways. I think they killed my husband, and my daughter was probably taken away," she replied, with tears in her eyes. Naruto tried his best to comfort her, bringing her into an embrace and allowing her to cry herself out. As he was doing this, he thought about what she just told him, and about the scene that met him upon his initial arrival to this village. "By any chance, would Akane happen to be your daughter's name?" asked Naruto. The lady's eyes widened as she brought her tear-stained face out of Naruto's chest to look at Naruto with a hopeful expression. "Yes, she is, but how do you know her?" she asked, the desperation apparent in her voice. "Actually, I came here about 2 days ago and saw your husband. I'm afraid I arrived too late to save him, but he told me about you and Gato before he passed. I then saw Akane and brought her with me, since I couldn't leave her alone. We made sure to give your husband the dignity of a proper burial," replied Naruto. After hearing this, the lady was overjoyed that her daughter was alive, and safe. "Can you tell me where Akane is right now?" "Sure. She is staying in Tazuna's inn. The bridge builder Tazuna. Yup. His daughter Tsunami is taking care of her. I am also staying there until I find Gato." "Thank you the lady forgot to ask for his name before they talk." "Naruto. My name is Naruto," said Naruto. "Thank you Naruto-san, for everything. My name is Hitomi Sato, please forgive me for not introducing myself to you sooner. I don't think I could ever repay the kindness you've shown me and my family. Please, think nothing more of it. I'm just glad you are safe," replied Naruto. Naruto-san, you've done so much for me, already, but, could you do me one last favor?" "Sure. What is it?" "Can you show me my husband's grave, please?" Naruto smiled warmly. "Sure, I can. I'd be happy to." Naruto then took Hitomi to her husband's grave, which was by their house. When they arrived, Hitomi stepped forward to get a closer look at the gravesite. It was a simple burial, with a flower on top of where the body was buried. At the top was a thick log cut in half with an epitaph carved into it. "Ryu Sato. A courageous man. A awesome daddy. Hitomi was moved beyond description at the simple, yet profound summary of her husband's life. She could only assume that Naruto carved his name in the first line, but she could tell that her daughter wrote the third line because of the crudeness with which the words were carved, causing her to laugh. As she stood there, she couldn't help but smile at yet another kindness shown by this man who had just freed her from captivity before she started to tear up and cry, now overwhelmed at the events that had happened within the past 2 days. Naruto simply held her once more as she cried herself out once again. Once she had calmed down, Naruto offered, "I'll give you a little space. Take all the time you need, okay?" She smiled at Naruto, kissing him on his cheek softly. "Thank you." Naruto smiled and nodded, walking into the house to wait. After Hitomi had finished paying her respects and saying goodbye, she went into her house. Naruto saw her walk past him into the kitchen, and then saw her walking back out with a knife in hand. Following her out of the house, he saw her kneeling down in front of the grave, the knife still in her hand. Thinking the worst, Naruto began to run to her to stop her. He stopped in his tracks when he noticed Hitomi carving out something in the wood with the knife. When she finished, she walked back into the house to put the knife away. Naruto walked over to the wood and read what she carved, "Loving husband." He smiled at the addition, and then at the woman who carved it. 1 minute later, the two of them walked away smiling, Hitomi still red-eyed and puffy-faced from weeping. "What do you say we go find my daughter, Naruto-san?" asked Hitomi. Naruto nodded and led the way to Tezuna's house. 1 hour later, Naruto and Hitomi reached Tezuna's house. Naruto opened the door and saw Akane, Tsunami and Inari eating lunch. They turned to see who opened the door and was surprised to see Naruto. Akane launched herself out of her chair and ran towards him. "Naruto ni!" yelled Akane happily while running to him, giving him a big hug. Naruto swept her up in it and squeezed her to himself, much to her delight and laughter. He then set her down and looked her dead in the eye, a knowing smile gracing his features. "Hey, Akane. Guess who I brought with me?" said Naruto. Akane tilted her head and looked at him. "Who?" she asked. Naruto chuckled and moved to the side so she could see Hitomi. Akane saw who it is. "Ka-chan," she said to herself in shock. Hitomi heard it and nodded, spreading her arms wide open to hug Akane. Akane quickly ran to her and embraced her. "You're okay, you're okay. I missed you so much, Ka-chan," cried Akane, sobbing into Hitomi, Hitomi herself also crying, both happy to be reunited again. "I missed you too, my Akane-chan," replied Hitomi, hugging her only child. Naruto walked over to the group, happy to see the reunited family. Inari and Tsunami were also happy for Akane, and Hitomi, though Tsunami turned her gaze to Naruto. "Where were you, Naruto-san?" she asked dangerously. Naruto backed away upon hearing the tone in her voice. I woke up early in the morning so I could find Gato's men, and get information. I ended up finding Hitomi and several other women who were being held captive," replied Naruto nervously, hands up in a defensive posture. "I see. How did you get the wound on your face then?" Her voice getting scarier. "I had to fight 20 of Gato's men, one slashed me on the face with his sword." Inari's eyes widened when he heard this. "Wow, that's so cool, Naruto-san," said Inari loudly. Tsunami sighed. "Well, I didn't see you this morning, so I began to worry. I'm glad you're okay. You should be more careful next time, Naruto-san." "I'll try, Tsunami-san." Tsunami went to bring out 2 more plates, for Naruto and Hitomi. Hitomi, Akane and Naruto sat at the table and ate lunch. Gato's headquarters. "Gato-sama, we were ambushed by someone. He beat the living crap out of all of us, by himself. After that, he freed the women, and they all escaped, Taro explained to his employer. Gato was enraged when he heard this. He did not take kindly to people messing with his business. He wanted whoever did this gone. It was already bad enough with that bridge builder trying to undermine his efforts to build his wealth through his trade monopoly, but now someone came to disrupt more of his activities. He could not allow that. I want you to give me a description of this man, replied Gato, making no effort to hide his fury. Taro answered. He had light blue spiky hair, pretty tall, wore a gray trench coat, which I personally think looks awesome. Oh, he also had these pair of awesome shades that somehow made his face unrecognizable. He also looked like he was in his teens. Gato got even madder, hearing that his men lost to some teenager, adding insult to injury. Gato, having the information he needed, looked at the group of failures. Be gone. I expect no failures from here on out, he said angrily. The group stiffened and bowed to him. Hi Gato-sama, they said all together while rushing out of the room as fast as they could. Zabuza, said Gato. In an instant a man appeared in front of Gato, in a swirl of water. This man was a tall muscular man, with pale skin. Short, spiky brown hair crowned his head. He wore bandages around the lower half of his face in a half-mask style. He had a kiri headband on the side of this head. He wore a black long-sleeved shirt, and black cargo-style pants. Strapped to his back was a giant zanbeitu, at the top of which was a large hole. This was the legendary Kubikiribocho. This man was Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the hidden mist, missing nin from Kurigakure, and formerly, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. What is it? Asked Zabuza annoyingly. Gato gave him a quick glare, but stopped when he felt Zabuza's killing intent. I want you to find a boy who has become a thorn in my side, and I want you to kill him. He's been interfering with my business. I'll triple your pay if you kill him, and that bridge builder Tazuna, said Gato, who proceeded to give Zabuza the description of the boy as was given to him by his other men. Zabuza heard this and smiled behind his bandaged lower face. Understood. Have my money ready, he replied and disappeared in a swirl of water. Zabuza's hideout. Zabuza appeared in his hideout. Inside were 3 of his followers, the demon brothers Gozu and Maizu, and his faithful follower Haku. Zabuza-sama, what happened? Asked Haku. Zabuza smiled. We have an additional target to eliminate. Gato will triple the pay if we kill him and the bridge builder, replied Zabuza, grinning madly. I think Tazuna is coming back in 3 days. Let's give him a welcome back gift then. 3 days later. 3 days had passed since Naruto had rescued the girls. Each subsequent morning, Naruto woke up at 4 to attack Gato's men and save any captives, now that he knew roughly what time they met each other. Naruto was just coming back from destroying another group of Gato's men and saving more captives. As rumors spread of the savior of Wave, the village became more and more lively. Naruto walked into Tazuna's house and was greeted by people eating lunch. Sitting at the table were Inari, Tsunami, Akane, and Hitomi. Hitomi wanted to stay. She said that she wanted her daughter to be safe until everything was over. She also said she could help with cooking and cleaning. Tsunami gladly accepted her, and within 3 days, they became really good friends. Ah, Naruto-san, welcome back. Here, have some lunch, said Tsunami, getting out a plate for him. Naruto sat down and took of his shades. For some reason he couldn't seem to fathom, his shades made him unrecognizable to others, much the same way an Anbu mask would. Thank you, Tsunami-san, he replied and quickly ate. 2-san should be back sometime today. I got a letter saying that he will be back today around dinner time, she said. Naruto swallowed his food and looked at her. Really? That's great. I think I'll visit him. I wonder who'll be with him, said Naruto. He quickly ate his food and left the house. Outside of Nami no Kuni, Tazuna and Team 7 were currently walking to Nami no Kuni. The sky was clear and sunny, a perfect day one would say. While walking, Sakura was giving looks to Sasuke, while Sasuke gave looks to Narumi. Narumi was currently talking with Tazuna and Kakashi reading the infamous Orange Book. We should be there by sundown, said Tazuna. Team 7 nodded and continued walking. On the pathway they noticed a medium-sized puddle. They weren't idiots. Even Sakura knew not to go near that puddle knowing it would trigger a trip. They all walked past the puddle cautiously. When they were a yard or two away, two people came from the water. Both were wearing gas masks and Kiri headbands. Kakashi recognized them as the demon brothers, Gozu and Maizu. They both instantly charged at the nearest target, which happened to be Narumi. Narumi noticed them and was about to take out her katana, but Sasuke beat her to it. Sasuke jumped into the air and sent Gozu a spinning roundhouse kick in the face, sending him flying backwards. Maizu tried attacking Sasuke with his gauntlet hand, but Sasuke dodged it and kneed Maizu in the stomach, knocking him out. Both the demon brothers laid on the ground unconscious. Sasuke, looking at his work, smirked arrogantly before turning his attention to Narumi. Since I saved your life, why don't we go out on a date, my treat? He said arrogantly. Narumi glared at him. In your dreams, duck ass, she replied instantly, turning him down, which made Sasuke frown. Before he could say anything, Kakashi called them over. After he was done tying up the demon brothers, Kakashi looked over at Tazuna suspiciously. Now tell me the truth. He didn't get to finish as he heard a sound in the bush. Instantly Kakashi threw his kunai at the sound of the direction. Team 7 walked over to the source to find a brown rabbit. Oh, it's just a rabbit, said Kakashi as he looked at Tazuna. On a tree stood Zabuza, getting ready to strike. When he found an opening in Kakashi's guard, he whispered, Kurigakur no Jutsu, hidden mist Justu, then jumped from his position to attack Kakashi. Team 7 and Tazuna noticed that they were covered in mist and it was really hard to see. Tazuna was still a good distance away from them but they could still see him. Kakashi, sensing danger, ducked. His eyes widened when he noticed what happened. It was Zabuza who slashed his giant sword at him. Kakashi, being a Jonin, instantly reacted by ducking and pulling out a kunai to block the next strike. Momochi Zabuza, demon of the hidden mist. Expert in silent killing, A-rank missing nin, what are you doing here? Asked Kakashi, who was a little nervous, for the safety of his team and Tazuna. Kakashi Hatake of the Sharingan, said Zabuza with a monotone voice, and a hint of excitement. The old man is mine, he glared at Kakashi in releasing killing intent. Protect Tazuna, you three, ordered Kakashi, when he realized what was going to happen. Team 7 quickly ran to Tazuna but froze when they felt the killing intent strengthen. Zabuza then dashed towards Tazuna, his sword ready to strike at Tazuna. Kakashi tried to stop him but was stopped by another Zabuza, a water clone. Tazuna was scared, and he began to see his life flash before his eyes. His farewells to this world were interrupted when he heard a familiar voice in the distance. Glove 1, Kai, said the voice. At that moment, Zabuza swung his sword downwards hoping to cut Tazuna in half, but his strike was stopped before it reached its target. Zabuza saw the back of a single gloved hand holding his blade at bay, and his gaze followed the arm to which the hand was attached to the face of a teenage boy, with light blue hair, gray trench coat, and shades that Zabuza thought looked cool. Zabuza looked back at the gloved hand and noticed a seal glowing on it with the kanji for defense. Well, this is convenient. I can't wait to kill him and get my pay, thought Zabuza with a smirk. Sorry I'm late, Tazuna-san, said the voice, flicking his hand making Zabuza's sword bounce off it. The man then massaged his hand as he turned to Zabuza. Man, that's some powerful swing you got there. NN Naruto, what are you doing here? Asked Tazuna in shock, barely able to sputter the words out. Team 7 all found themselves reacting curiously to the name with which Tazuna addressed the newcomer. HNN, who would have thought we'd ever run into another Naruto running around? But unlike the Dobi who ran away, this one doesn't look like a weakling, thought Sasuke, in shock at this boy seemingly the same age as him showing such spectacular strength. Wow, what are the odds of meeting someone else named Naruto? Thought Sakura, as she was just as surprised as Sasuke. I wonder, thought Kakashi. In Naruto ni-chan. Could it be? Thought Narumi, both in shock and happiness that this young man might just be her brother, even though he didn't really resemble her twin whose face she had etched into her memory in the slim hope that she might run into him out there somewhere. Even though the physical resemblance was askew, somehow she just had this feeling. The more it prodded her, the more convinced she became that this was him. The more she looked at him, the more she noticed his toned body and extremely handsome face. His light blue hair, which she thought looked exotic, was much more enticing on him than when he had Minato's hair, in her opinion. A blush crept onto her face when she got a complete look at his own. So handsome. He looks even better than the Naruto I've dreamed about. She thought as she trailed off to imagine Naruto and he, stop that you are in a battle. Damn it. Yoko and her kitsune urges are starting to rub off on me. Hey, I heard that, yelled Yoko in response to Narumi's stray thought. Yoko herself was in her own thoughts. Seeing Naruto, she couldn't help but blush and feel a little bit of heat. Narumi-chan, that's him. That's the man you've been dreaming of all these years. Yoko-chan, are you sure? Asked Narumi, her joy and desperation plainly evident to her tenant. There's no doubt at all, it's him. His appearance has changed, but I'd recognize that lovely chakra signature anywhere. Oh Naruto-kun, you're so handsome. I can't wait till I'm out of here so we can be together forever, she said to herself. Narumi heard this and inwardly glared at her. What are you talking about, Yoko-chan? Narumi asked the vixen, slightly annoyed. I mean what I say. Naruto-kun and I are going to be together, and no one going to stop me from having him all to myself, replied Yoko with a smirk. Teasing Narumi was just too easy. If she was being truthful, she actually did want Naruto all to herself, but she wouldn't dare stop anyone who wanted to love Naruto from doing so. She knew that there was already a place in Naruto's heart that was hers, and hers alone, and knowing just how huge Naruto's heart was, she could live with that. What? Hell no. You can't, huh? Narumi didn't get to finish as Yoko shut off the mental link between both of them. I can't wait to get out of here. Naruto-kun, hurry up and free me, please. I hope you didn't forget your promise to me, she said to herself. Narumi grumbled at Yoko's teasing as the link was cut, that returned her attention to Naruto. Upon looking at him again, she couldn't help but smile. It seemed that Kami had granted her wish. Now she just needed to figure out what to say to him once this little battle was over. Naruto looked over at the team that Tazuna had hired to help him. When he saw who it was, he frowned. Oh, me, he thought to himself in both shock and exasperation. He wasn't expecting Tazuna to go to Konoha of all places. He certainly didn't expect him to be assigned this particular team, the team with his sister, with Makoto-chan's youngest, Sasuke, who he'd never liked at all, with Sakura Haruno, if he remembered correctly, a bit of a bookworm from what he could recall from his brief academy days, and with Kakashi Hatake of all people as their Jonin-sensei. What were the odds? He wasn't ready to talk to Narumi, Even if she asked him to give her another chance, he just wasn't mentally prepared for this, not yet. His fretting over his unpreparedness for an encounter with his estranged sister was quickly forgotten when he had actually gotten a good look at her. She was stunning. She had her mother's hair and eye color, yet she had her father's face, which actually suited her quite well. He always thought Minato's face was a bit girly, as she seemed to know how to apply just enough makeup to fully enhance and optimize her feminine beauty. The fact that she had incredible womanly assets accentuating an hourglass certainly didn't hurt her in this regard, either. He couldn't help the blush that quickly came across his face, or the beginning of the tightness in his pants. Remembering that they were in the middle of a battle, Naruto quickly shook his head to get rid of these thoughts and turned his gaze to Kakashi. He couldn't guess what Kakashi was thinking, as there was no way in the world that Kakashi could recognize him. I'd best not show all my skills to him. Even though he doesn't know who I am, he'd probably report what he sees me do when they get back to Konoha, and I have no interest in dodging teams of Konoha shinobi sent by the bastard to negotiate for my services. I'm not going back there, at least not yet, thought Naruto, as he turned his attention to Zabuza, who was now charging him, sword at the ready. Naruto quickly dodged Zabuza's horizontal slice by moving to his feet to the side. Naruto, seeing the opportunity to counterattack, prepared himself. Knuckles 1, Kai, he called out, his gloves shining and showing a different seal across the knuckles, the kanji for impact. Naruto then sent a lightning-fast right hook to Zabuza's jaw. Naruto's fist connected, hard, sending Zabuza flying towards a tree faster than any of the others could follow his trajectory, breaking the tree, and 3 more behind that one. Everyone's eyes went wide, their jaws slack when they saw the power behind Naruto's haymaker. What the? Were the collective thoughts of Team Kakashi and Tazuna. Yoko, however, had different thoughts. Osu strong Naruto-kun. I wonder how he is in bed, she mused as blood started to drip out of her nose. All they could do was watch as Naruto whipped out several kunai, flinging them all in Zabuza's direction. They watched the flight path that the kunai traveled, only to watch them hit nothing. Suiryuden no Jutsu, water release. Water Dragon Blast Jutsu, said a voice from their left. Naruto turned and saw Zabuza sending a large water dragon towards him. Shit, thought Naruto, reacting instantaneously and going through a few hand signs of his own. Ratone. Ikazuchiken lightning fist, Naruto called out as his right arm started to cover itself in lightning. Naruto then ed his lightning-covered right arm back and balled his right hand into a fist. Leaping towards the water dragon, Naruto punched it with all his might, releasing the lightning into it. To everyone's amazement, the dragon dispersed into streams of falling water. Even Naruto found himself surprised, as he didn't expect his technique to be that effective against such a jutsu. It was then that Naruto realized what had just happened. Naruto, sensing danger behind him, twisted and dodged an oncoming Zabuza, but wasn't quite fast enough. As Zabuza swung his massive Zanbeitu at the blue-haired teen, Naruto had been able to dodge enough to prevent a fatal injury, but still came away from the attack with a large gash across his chest, from his upper right to the lower left. Naruto cursed himself for falling for such a diversion. The water dragon was much weaker than it should have been, and Zabuza had used it as a feint for the real attack, which had connected, though not as thoroughly as Zabuza had intended. He had meant to cleave the boy in half. Naruto's chest was bleeding badly, the blood loss making it hard for him to stay conscious, much less standing. Zabuza stood there with an evil smirk behind the bandages on his face. When Gato told me about you, I rather thought you'd give me a challenge. I must say I'm impressed, kid, you didn't disappoint. Sorry, nothing personal, but you're doomed to die here. I need to get paid, you know, said Zabuza as he prepared to strike the final blow. Narumi and Kakashi tried to run to Naruto, tears streaming down Narumi's face as she desperately tried to get to him in time.